In January of this year, ZUK was announced as a new smartphone company, made up of former Lenovo employees and funded by Lenovo. ZUK is actually 70% owned by Lenovo, with various other companies owning the other 30%. This is the ZUK Z1, the company's first smartphone running their own OS, ZUI. The Cyanogen OS model will be coming out next month. This is the ZUK Z1 review. Now let's get started. ZUK Z1 was actually announced twice, once on August 11th in Beijing for the Chinese media, and again on the 21st in Shenzhen for the overseas media. The Z1 houses a Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor alongside 3 gigs of RAM, along with a massive 4100 mAh battery that is non-removable. Around the front, there is a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS LCD display and the home button, which doubles as a fingerprint reader. Around back is your 13 megapixel camera and flash. On the bottom of the Z1, you notice there is a USB Type-C port, and yes, this is the second smartphone to feature that, but it is USB 3.0 powered, whereas the OnePlus 2's USB Type-C port was only USB 2.0. The home button here on the Z1 is quite interesting. Not only is it a fingerprint reader, but it also serves your needs for back and recents. Using the company's U-Touch feature, you can touch the button to go back, or swipe left and right to jump between apps, as well as double pressing the button to get into recents and clear everything away. Of course, you can just press it and go home if you want. The fingerprint reader is really fast, but it's not integrated with other apps and services like Samsung's are, which is a big downside here for ZUK. If they could work out some type of partnership to get their fingerprint reader to play nicely with apps like LastPass, PayPal, and others, as well as the app stores that are available in China, it would give us more reasons to use this really fast and accurate fingerprint reader. Looking at the Z1, you'll see that it looks a whole lot like an iPhone, but it does not feel anything like one in the hand. The back is a glossy plastic material, which I'm not a huge fan of. While the Z1 has a 5.5-inch display, the phone does not feel like a huge phone, and actually can be used with one hand surprisingly. Having the volume rocker and power button on the one side isn't a deal breaker for me, at least. Unless you take a lot of screenshots, it shouldn't be an issue. Battery life here on the Z1 is quite impressive, but of course you'd expect that from a 4100 mAh battery, right? I was able to get through almost 2 full days, and I'm talking about 48 hours here, and got around 7 hours of on-screen time. I'm pretty sure that if I used the phone a bit harder, that I could have gotten 10 hours of on-screen time at least. Pretty impressive, actually. On the software side of things, we have ZUI, and I'll be honest here and say it's not my favorite piece of software, but it does its job and it does it well. As is usual with phones coming out of China, we have no app drawer here, so all of your apps are on your home screen. What's a bit more confusing, especially for those that love stock Android or even TouchWiz and Optimus UI, is that there are no quick toggles or settings in the notification panel. Instead, you swipe up from the bottom and find those, similar to an iOS. One of the gripes I have there is the fact that you can toggle on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, but you cannot choose which Wi-Fi network you connect to. Instead, you have to jump into the settings app to do so. The software is still quite smooth and fluid, pretty good for running on a chip that is over a year old, although the Snapdragon 801 isn't a slouch. The camera here on the Z1 is a 13 megapixel shooter, and it takes alright pictures. Now it's not going to blow your mind, especially if you've used the Galaxy S6 or Note 5, but you'll still get some great shots out of the camera. The shutter is also really fast, something we're getting more and more accustomed to lately with these smartphones. I also have a gripe about the camera though, and that's that the settings of the camera are not inside the camera. Instead, you have to go into settings and select camera to change up the settings if you wish to do so. It's not a huge deal, but it's an extra step that shouldn't be needed. You can see some of the samples from the camera in the video now. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the ZUK Z1. While many people are trying to compare them to OnePlus, it's not really fair to do so. While OnePlus was started by a number of Apple employees, and ZUK was started pretty much the same way but with Lenovo employees, they're still using Lenovo's resources, while OnePlus was not using Apple's resources. For example, ZUK is using Lenovo's factories and other resources to develop the Z1 and get it into the hands of as many people as possible. They are also planning to work with Cyanogen in the future on all of at least their international devices, while OnePlus had always said they wanted to do software as well. So let's not compare these two. The ZUK Z1 is available now and will be available with Cyanogen OS in a few weeks. Now you'll be able to flash Cyanogen OS if you pick up the ZUI model, which is what we're planning on doing as soon as Cyanogen OS 12.1 is available. We don't have official pricing just yet, but the Chinese version should cost around $300 to import. So we'd assume the international version will be around that same price, maybe a little bit more due to taxes and import fees. That's it for the ZUK Z1 review. We'll have the written review up on the site as soon as possible, and we'll have a link down below for those interested in reading our full review. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up down below, and if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to do so as well so you don't miss any Android content. And we'll see you in the next one.